Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Daddy Phil, and we are live from the Phoenix Spaces as we are every single week, every Thursday at 3 p.m., excuse me, at 1 p.m. UTC. We're going to go ahead and dive into today's conversation in just a second. Allow me to pull up all the speakers on stage. If you are a scheduled speaker, please make sure to send in a request. I'll pull you up immediately. If you are not pulled up within a minute or so, make sure to send in the request again or rejoin the space because spaces are extremely ruggy. I don't know if you noticed. It's been a very uncomfortable past 2 years on X, but I don't have 400 billion to back this claim up. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into today's topic and some of our distinguished guests that we have on stage. We've got Blockchain Wayne, Mr. Wayne from FIO Protocol. Hello there. How's it going, sir?
Hey, GM. Glad to be here, man. This is a topic that I'm very passionate about. I think I gave five different speeches on stage last year at different events, and every single one of them was about the user experience. So, ready to dive in.
Let's go. I think it's one of the crucial topics that we have to discuss over and over and over and over. It's an ever-ending or never-ending debate. Are we lacking some user experience, or what the hell are we doing? Why isn't aren't people using more crypto tech? Let's figure it out. But before we got Max from X Rocket. Hello, Max.
GM everyone, happy to be here today with you. Crucial topic, by the way, UX gaps. I guess that UX is the one of the most important things to attract and bring new users to crypto or any other products. So, crucial topic, and happy to discuss it today. Very interesting that other people, other speakers thinking about it, and let's dive in into that topic.
Let's dive in indeed. We got a great conversation. I'm really curious how we can improve the existing user experience for our users, or for most importantly, for potential users that are going to be joining us in the coming years, in the coming decade, let's say, because otherwise we're not going to get people. I think we are still locked in the same loop of feeding the same users, like it's crypto traders, meme coin traders, tech devs, and I think we are somehow kind of reinforcing this type of behavior or this type of pattern, and let's figure out how to get out of it. Next Moon, I believe this is how your name is pronounced.
It is. You can call me Cody. How about that? Uh, yeah, so this is Cody behind the Next Moon Project. Happy to be here. I am a UI UX designer and have been for the past 2 decades. So, uh, definitely a topic that I am passionate about as well.
Oh, Cody, let's go. Awesome. Glad to have you here. Always happy to hear your voice and your takes. Um, so let's lay it out right there. Well, actually, before we begin, ladies and gentlemen, do not forget that the Phoenix Tech is one of a kind tech that offers really easy UX on the bridge as well as on our TG bot. So, all you can do, or all you need to do, is just check out our bot on Telegram or getphoenix.com. That's the website. You can check it out. There's many different benefits of bridging, different benefits of using the bot. You can either use the online platform or the TG bot. It's very interactive. It's very user friendly. Most importantly, we recently reached a milestone of crossing $10 million in swaps. So, cheers to that, ladies and gentlemen. And also, I would like to note that Phoenix is always open for partnerships where projects can have their own token onboarded on our platform to allow cross chain swaps, enable tech and API integrations, and add our widgets to their website with just a few lines of code. This can be customized to their logo and branding as well. Revenue share on all swaps that go through our widgets is something they don't get when their users swap on decentralized or centralized exchanges. There's many different benefits to Phoenix. You can find it out on getphoenix.com. Don't trust copycats. It's only getphoenix.com or the Phoenix on Solana um, bot. Check it out, folks. Let's dive into today's conversation, which is conversely the improvement of user experience. So, my first question would be, why is user experience still one of the biggest barriers to mass adoption in Web3? Where are we actually falling short? Wayne, would you like to kick it off?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing is we're falling short in not just looking at history. I mean, history has shown us through technology adoption cycles that, there's always those early adopters, like the pioneers and the early adopters that are willing to jump in, do the friction because they want to try something new, the techies, which is probably a lot of us on this call if you're not new to this industry. And we're willing to go through that, the complexities of using it, just like I can remember. So I'm going to show my age a little here, but I was, in the early 90s. I was a young teenager just getting to use the internet, using computers. I can remember some of the computers we had at the house that were just very clunky, complex to use, and it wasn't a good experience. And so when you look at technology cycles, people want less friction. They're intimidated. They're fearful already, even when money is not involved, like it is with digital currencies. But they avoid the masses typically avoid that, and so we got to look at adoption cycles. You look at even if you go back in history to and study the history of the car. When the car first came out, it wasn't marveled as this amazing invention. People were like, it's a death trap on wheels. And then the computer come out, and it was clunky. It was hard to use. We had the green screens that just weren't really user friendly. But as protocols came out to make it easier, a lot more people started to use it. You see that with the first cell phone to now, where a smartphone, and like we could all agree, I'm sure, Apple has created a seamless user experience for people to use iPhones, to where my 74-year-old mom, who's intimidated by tech, can send me reels, send me emails, all these different things that she wasn't. If technology was still like it was back then, she wouldn't be able to use it. So it's important that we do that. We have a lot of great builders that are building great tech, but they need to pair up and marry up with those that are focused on solving the user experience. And that's kind of what we decided to do at FIO was, sending and receiving can be so complex. You can make mistakes, send the wrong address, send on the wrong chain. And the whole idea of a test send just defeats the whole purpose of crypto being simple. And so we created a protocol that any wallet, any exchange can integrate, to where users can seamlessly send using a username that works across all blockchains, can work across all wallets. It's not a simple closed ecosystem. Anybody can use it. And that's just one step. A lot of I mentioned the talks I give whenever I talk about user experience problem, and there's actually quite a few. I mean, seed phrases, I think, is one of them that there should be options to that. And there's other parts of crypto and Web3 that need to be simplified, but we are at least focused on solving a few. And I think that's going to be the catalyst to mass user adoption, is you make it frictionless, and then the people that don't care that it's crypto, you basically hide the tech from them. One of our wallet partners, Trust, their CEO, just spoke this week about crypto will reach mainstream adoption when the technology is hidden from the user. And I think that's what we have to focus on. You think about technology has been adopted and it's just simple and seamless to use, and then there's not a lot of friction with onboarding or people using it.
Fair enough. w- we definitely got to learn from Web 2 or whatever we call traditional world. One thing that comes to mind is, I mean, Apple didn't just start on nowhere, or there is actually a good reason for Apple to be so dominant, and as well as other products. People are used to, as you mentioned, Wayne, my mother or my grandmother who are really intimidated by tech. It has been like it just takes one day for them to use an iPhone and they just get hooked on it. The same logic should be applied to tech. And just to bring the example of Steve Jobs himself, because he says it very often, you have to start with customer experience and then work your way back to the technology. So it's a very wise thing to say because he says that we need to invent technology after we invent the customer experience. And customer experience is something that most crypto degens or builders don't really think about. Unfortunately, we have really good technology, but it feels like we are inventing the customer experience after the technology, somehow like trying to, in a way, match the tech to the actually match the customer experience to the already existing tech. NFTs are a great example of that. Nobody knew what they were good for, and it kind of like everybody suddenly became a art collector. And granted, art collection is a very good use case for NFTs, but that's not the only use case, right? We've seen many different attempts, but not like 99.9% have failed. Even the greatest uh, co- um, collections couldn't make it work because there was seemingly no customer experience there. I mean, your core community can take you so far. Um, and also, one of the things that really intimidates me, for example, in trading or in transactions, is gas and mindless shill and shameless shill, actually. But that's what I really like about Phoenix, that it offers gasless transactions, gas-free transactions, more specifically. I think gas is such an unnecessary thing that if unless we get rid of that hurdle, it just provides so much friction for users that just joined because traditionally we don't really pay gas in transactions in more or less everyday use. And I think that's very important as well. XRocket, I'm curious about your thoughts on the topic.
So yes, we hate gas too. That's why we build it sex, and we don't have gas fees app. So yeah, if we're talking about UX, I think that UX isn't just design, it's more about product strategy. Yeah, and products that won the market didn't just have better tech; they had smoother, simpler, I know, cooler user experience. And let's say Robinhood versus traditional brokers. Robinhood, the company, they didn't invent investing. They just made investing feel like swiping on Instagram, So the simplicity is the key also. And maybe someone of you remember of WebX. I don't think so because that's was the app like Zoom, and these apps have same tech foundation, but Zoom won because it's just word, and of course because of UX. Uh, and I think that in crypto, UX is the final barrier to mass adoption also, because some of DeFi products still have bad, horrible sometimes UX, and it's DeFi is not simple, right? But even with bad UX, we are making it more complex, more hard to understand for user. And if we talking about what we do, yeah, for building better UX, and not only us, of course. Uh, some products are building simplified DeFi, uh, despite we're a centralized app, yeah, centralized exchange. We're still thinking about decentralized things, decentralized products inside our product, and we are trying to build simplified DeFi it's like, you have to press only one button and you start gaining money. If you know, there is a project, Torch USD, and that's the protocol which helps user to get API via, I'll say, I don't know, 7 to 10 protocols, like, I don't know, Storm Trade on Ton, or I don't know. I do not remember what protocols are in, but the key is that user have to press only one button for start gaining some money. Simplify DeFi. That's ease, and we see how crucial DeFi. Oh, sorry, UX, of course. UX crucial for users, because we launched a web platform for our CX, and we see troubles connected to user experience, and we are trying to renew our web platform, our web trading page on web, for being better, for being smoother, for being easier to understand for users, for our customers. So UX is extremely crucial, extremely important. So that's my thoughts on UX.
Yeah, how do we actually improve UX is the question I want to ask Sailfish as well, because they just joined our space. What are specific um, measures or specific, um, well, being the education hub, Sailfish? Uh, I'm really curious on like how much should we actually educate our customers on, and how much should be improved? Like, where are the specific bottlenecks to improve our UX? Sailfish, are you with us? All right. Well, that's the last warning you get, my friend. Then you're going to get demoted to a listener. That's not allowed on our spaces. We try to give good, quick, immersive learning. Uh, Cody, would you grace us with your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's important that when we look at user experience across the board, um, we need to look at both UI, which is user interface, and UX, right, as well, because they kind of go hand in hand together. Because you've got one that is basically talking about the journey, and the things that happen behind the scenes, but then you've also got the interface, which is kind of the clear visual instruction. And so you just mentioned, how do we educate? How do we instruct? A good UI designer will remove a lot of that complexity and need for education through intuitive designs that allow a lot of the users to be onboarded, be intuitively know what to do next. And so a lot of times when you're talking about UI UX, it just definitely gets rolled together. And I think it's important to kind of separate the two. I am of the firm believer that when you are designing from an overall perspective between UI and UX, I I hate using the term thinking outside the box, right? It's an overused cliche in marketing, business, sales, whatever you want to call it, because a lot of times, and it explains kind of the experience that we've had with crypto, and one of the main reasons why I got into the crypto space back in 2017 full time is because too many people are thinking outside the box on this, and a lot of times these are where we make our own complexity unnecessary. From being able to have to connect wallets, happen to have gas fees, happen to have this and that. as soon as you start kind of trying to solve these one-off issues that you're having because you didn't design them from the very get-go in your product or service, that's where those kind of bolt-on experiences come, which kind of can throw a user off or out of the overall smooth journey that you're trying to create. And so a lot of times it is imperative to stop thinking outside the box and focus on expanding the box to scale and grow with that user experience based upon their level of comfort with your project. Because if you look at, what's a good example here? A good example would basically be, you're playing a game, right? Going along, and you think about some of these like mobile games that you might play on your phone. And if you're coming along and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I need more gems so that I can continue to play the game, or I want to buy this skin. And then all of a sudden, it is a little bit of a uh, out of the box thinking when it comes to, oh, I've got to now pay with a credit card type of thing. Imagine driving the complexity of that to now saying, oh, I've got to connect my wallet and all this kind of stuff. And people are like, what is a wallet? What is a seed phrase? What is a private phrase? Yeah, or all that kind of jazz. And it does start adding in layers of complexity where we really don't need it. And that's where there's the battle over custody versus self custody kind of experiences. But for me, I really do feel like it is important to really go hand in hand with the UI and the UX, because the UI can help drive a lot of the back end UX stuff as well.
Well, absolutely. I'm glad you said that we need to divide these. These are different concepts. The way user interface works is where elements of the um, interface are placed, how it looks, how how it's perceived, and the user experience is everything else, how it behaves, how it makes the user go through experiences. I'm wondering if we have a quote unquote best Web3 experience. I understand this could be broken down into several categories, maybe a lot of categories. Let's do that as well. I'm really curious if we have like, do we know what the perfect user experience um for a Web3 kind of like for a Web3 product looks like? For me, in the beginning, if you want to swap tokens or change currency, let's say in the traditional finance words, you shouldn't be um, you should not be paying gas fees. That's just ridiculous to me. But how can projects design onboarding flows that don't require users to understand wallets, gas fees, or even seed phrases? Is there a way to remove gas fundamentally or change how people interact with smart contracts, making experimentation more accessible, but possibly more reckless even? Wayne, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. When you think about making things simple and seamless, you're taking some of that autonomy away from the user and deciding for them to make it easier. So, just like you mentioned, simply being able to interact with smart contracts, but good UI UX and the tech behind it has to be a perfect, or at least a really good combination blend of simple user experience without sacrificing security. And I think you can do that in a way. I mean, smart contract interaction, a better user interface could also show the user, hey, these are the permissions that you're giving away when you interact with the smart contract. This is what can happen. Or let you know, and some wallets actually do that. Like I know Rabby Wallet does it to where it'll show you like this is what could happen if you interact with the smart contract. But then also, if that smart contract's always already been flagged numerous times, it's got some kind of a marker to let them know, like, hey, this is a malicious smart contract. Don't interact with this token or don't interact with this website. So there has to be that blend to where you do it, and that's where it can actually be more secure if you're ensuring that the user, like for instance, what we do is getting the right address. You're not going to mess up and send the wrong address. You're not going to send in the wrong chain. So you could do that. And so same thing, like we mentioned with seed phrases. And I don't know what the answer there is. I mean, I know one wallet that I onboard a lot of new users to is Edge Wallet, just because it's a simple user interface. They have a different way of securing your private key. And let's face it, I mean, most of the time we're onboarding new people onto a wallet. It's at a conference, it's at an event, it's in person. They're not sitting at their desk where they can write down a seed phrase and put it in a safe or a lockbox or something. And so we tell people not to screenshot. We tell people not to save to the notes on their phone, and they do it anyway because they're traveling, right? And so a wallet that allows you to secure your seed phrase a different way. That's kind of and that's one of the reasons why I use that one to onboard new users, because it's simple, it's easy to use. Um, and so, yeah, we've got to, you definitely have to take security in mind. You can't sacrifice security for, for ease of use, but there are ways to do that. And when it's a way where the user should be able to choose what they're doing, there should be, it should be simple to do instead of having to get really complicated. I mean, swaps as well, right? You think about swaps, you shouldn't have to, worry about, okay, did I get the contract address right? Am I going to mess up? Am I going to accidentally have this deposit? If I'm doing cross chain, is it going to go to the right wallet? Just make that easy for users to connect and let the technology do the hard work, and then protect them when necessary. So, yeah, I think it's possible to do it without sacrificing security, but security always has to be in mind when we're building the UI as well.
I think if you look
Yeah.
at the
Yeah, go ahead.
I think if you look at like one of the most frustrating and but most common error that occurs is when it comes to gas fees is you're like trying to buy Ethereum and you end up buying like Arbitrum Ethereum, or you buy some or other type of token
Oh, dude,
for the
that's the
gas
worst.
fee. I mean, it happens to even us veterans all the time because we get into a hurry and we're just like, dang it, I need gas. I need gas. Okay, what can I sell real quick? It's like, hey, buddy, can you send me some gas, or even just kind of swapping into the wrong thing, and then you end up putting $100 in and a fiat into crypto, and then by the time you swap it into that, and then you see your error, and then you swap it again. Now you're down to like $60 out of that $100 because of a one simple error. And one of the biggest things in my mind is when it comes to the gas fee is like having a universal gas fee. Like, why can't they all just work together? Why can't they just remove the complexity of it? And from a user standpoint, why the hell do I need to hold 36 different gas fees in my wallet at all times, just for me to kind of use all these different products and services across Web3?
It's really annoying. I mean, I don't know who came up with it. I guess that's part of the how it is, right? But yeah, no, that's really really crazy. The hmm, how do we improve that? Uh, I I I mean, I've bought many times not the correct gas token, and it was so annoying because I couldn't transfer money, and it's like I spent 40 minutes on one app trying to swap buy AIXBT tokens, and it was so annoying because I didn't have like what $3 or some annoying amount, like incredibly frustrating. Um, abstraction. Do you think abstraction from complexity is the future of Web3, or should we educate people? Um, how much should people actually know about these concepts and about these technologies? I mean, don't I'm pretty sure most people don't understand it. I personally don't really understand how websites work, but I use them. I use them a lot. um, I wonder how much fundamentals should be understood by an average Web3 user. Sailfish, are you back with us? All right. Well, Sailfish is gone. Unfortunately, we got a.
Hi
Oh,
guys.
hey there.
Hi. Sorry guys, Jim. I was just talking in another meeting. It just obviously
All right. Well,
made
don't join
right in time.
meetings if you can't talk. Uh,
I'm sorry guys. I'm sorry
we're
guys.
talking about UX, and given that you do some education, my question to you, sir, is how how much should a general Web3 user know, and how much should we leave to the user experience and the product builders? Like comparing it to a website, like do you know, like I don't know whether a website is built on whatever, like WordPress, Wix.com, or it's natively written via code, but I still use it, right? Can we extrapolate that to Web3?
Yeah, I think this is a very interesting topic because again the user experience is key for like every single thing that we're doing. Take it Web 2 or Web 3 because the most important thing is capturing the user's engagement and seeing where they're obviously feel like dropping out of your website or of your own product basically. And I think someone mentioned something because I've been listening. Despite the fact that I was talking in another meeting, was the fact that we're talking about gas fees and all of that. The user experience needs to actually be as simple as possible, and even down to like every nitty gritty. I'll give you an example. Like for instance, we at Sailfish, like we are the first DEX on EduChain. And one of the main things was obviously how would liquidity providers earn, or how would they obviously like what fees would they earn, what's the APR and what's the APY, and because of how shitty our user experience was or our UX was, we had a feedback from one of our competitor. We had a feedback from one of our advisors and to actually say to us, you know what, guys, how do you expect your users to know what the APY or the APR is if it's not clear? Or how do you intend to attract liquidity providers if these information are not clear or the like you need to let them know how they can earn and stuff like that. So the reason why I've laid out that scenario is because of the fact that without a good user experience, like you're obviously killing the inflow of traffic onto your products or your own platform, and we've seen this with obviously different products and not just our own products, like whereby things are just hard for you to actually understand what's going on, especially when it comes to obviously trying to onboard people from the Web 2 environment into the Web 3 environment. Like how how simple can we bring things down? How can we dumb things down to make it easier for people to actually come on board? I do see like there's a huge gap obviously the UX experience, especially in the Web 3 space, and obviously trying to see how we can make things simpler in a sense.
Yeah. Well, how do we make them simpler, or how much should we educate people is the main question to me. Especially when we're talking.
Um,
Yeah.
so I think making things simple is obviously like with the designs and stuff like I don't know, like with us as a business, our product is really intense and stuff, and making it simpler obviously involves obviously building a community around it, and obviously educating people, and obviously dropping webinars and commenting or having one-to-one sections or having feedback with community members to see how we can actually improve on whatever we build. Because again, when people build our products, most of the time they just build it out for themselves. Especially devs, they just build it out for themselves. But if there's like an A and B testing mechanism which people can actually put in place, I feel like that would actually help instead of solving this problem.
Yeah. One thing I know for sure is having really good feedback loops does help. Um, that's one thing that I want to ask you guys about. Cody, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, Um, it's really interesting because if you really look at where we've come over the last 2 decades, um, it's been a developer first approach to crypto and the Web3 experience. And as of late, I would say probably late 2021, late 20 or early 2022, we started seeing a paradigm shift in that mentality from a developer first standpoint. Um, and what I mean by that is you've got developers that are developing the user interfaces, and let's be honest, like developers are not designers for UI. They think they are, but I'm just speaking the brutal honesty here. Um, they're very clunky. They're very well over there's too much information up front. They don't take design flows into consideration. Um, that's why like I said, in 2022, there was a shift from a developer first approach to design to a user centric approach and design to enhance the overall user experience, which has been phenomenal. To kind of see a lot more projects focus on that, put more time and effort into their design. But I think it's important for anyone that's listening to this to understand that there is a huge, huge gap between designers and developers and how they talk to each other. They talk two totally different languages oftentimes, and this has always been an issue. It not just in crypto alone, but in the SaaS world, in the app world. Where I come from, it's been a major challenge for decades, and it is one of those things that we're kind of going through in the Web3 space right now. Is this kind of gap, and like I said, this disconnect can also lead to oftentimes leads to a lot of misaligned goals, wasted efforts, because you've got designers designing these beautiful minimal UI interfaces, and then you have developers that are just not even paying attention to it and just doing doing it because they can't do it, or whatever. It's designers that don't understand how Web3 works. They don't understand the elements that need to go into it. And so as a result of that, there's a lot of wasted efforts, and which has caused a lot of the suboptimal type of user experiences that we've experienced. But I think that we are definitely headed in the right direction of kind of bridging this gap. The previous speaker, talked about kind of watching and understanding the user, where the bottlenecks are coming from. That's all data, right? And so, like when I design, I leverage quite a bit of different methodologies in my design. From UI and UX, there are different methods, and one of those that I use is the Lean UX design method, which allows me to really be able to pivot on an agile kind of design thing based upon where I am seeing those bottlenecks, where I'm seeing that that box needs to be expanded. And for me, being able to understand, some of the complexities of crypto has really allowed me to design and innovate around, like Fio talked about, designing a better user experience without sacrificing speed, security, decentralization, if that's the route that you're going. It is totally possible, but the people that are coming in and working on this need to understand how to communicate to each other in a way to come together to make that user journey smooth, simple, because it does require quite a few different stakeholders to be part of that journey. It just can't be one person. It has to be a group of people coming together and focused on one one thing, and that needs to be taking a customer-centric approach to the design, to the development, in order to achieve that. So I think it's important to understand that.
It's absolutely essential to understand that. How much should the user know is an eternal question to me, because some users know more, some users know less. But I think the iPhone really, or the Apple ecosystem overall, really nailed this on the head when they started doing the WWDC, or when they're doing the keynote presentations every year in September, when they're releasing a new phone, because the phone itself, the product is really good. You can use it, you can reuse it, you can do whatever you want. It's really, really easy to use. And plus, it's also really easy to not only use, but understand, because later on, you have uh, many, many long form explanations from Apple about exactly how these things work, how it how it what technology it leverages, specifically how they built it, and it's a lot of interesting information for those that are interested. But for those that aren't, like myself, I'm too lazy to figure out every new iPhone and how exactly it was built. I'm just gonna use it and enjoy using it because it feeds both sides. You know what I mean?
It Yeah, it's the car concept. I use the car concept quite a bit when I'm describing how UI UX should come together and work. If you need to get from point A to point B and you're using a car, you've got those people. Um, bless my wife. She's not one of those kind of car people. She couldn't tell you what kind of car a certain vehicle is. Um, all she knows is that when you put the key in the ignition, turn it, it's going to start and it's going to get her from point A to point B. And then you have people like my son that don't really know the intricacies of how a car works yet, but he is definitely calling out all the different types of cars, brands of cars, things like that. So he's a little bit more of a car guy, all the way down to my brother-in-law that is a huge car geek that could tell you exactly what little part does, where it's located, how it works in unison with all the other parts of the engine and affects the overall performance of the car, right? And being able to design for your targeted user is essential, like you just said, to allow that user, depending on their expertise or their uh, how's the best way to put this, kind of like their thirst for being able to drill down into something. It needs to have that ability to do it. And again, it's expanding that box based upon the type of experience that they want to have. Because the second that they hit your border of your box, that's when those users start looking at your product and service of saying, okay, it's no longer filling my need or my desire. It's not keeping me captivated, or it's not filling my need to the point where they're going to start looking for that other kind of silver bullet that's going to offer what they're going to look for, right? There's a lot of psychology, there's a lot of different design elements that go into this to keep, not only get a user to use your product, but to be able to retain your user, is the other half of this whole battle.
Yeah, retention is another thing, because Web3. Well, let's talk a bit abstract on these topics, because I'm really curious what we as Web3, as an industry, what are we adding to the lives of people overall. So let me clarify. You wake up in the morning, drink water, brush your teeth, take shower, meditate, have breakfast, whatever you do, and then you go have coffee, you start working, finish your work, you pick up your phone, call your friend, hang out, go read a book, watch a movie, whatever, right? These are the activities that we have in life based on different things. that have happened and people have invented, people have innovated on, so on and so forth. My question is, where does the Web3 fit in here? Like, where if ever we are adding anything to the people's lives, like, is it while we're using a bank? Does Web3 come through there? Is it where we sit down to play a game and we buy an NFT? Is it where Web3 comes into our lives? Like, where do we fit in the human experience is my question. Wayne, what do you think? Does that make sense? Mr. Wayne, are you here? Why is everybody rugging today?
Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, I had a prompt pop up that I had to clear, and so sorry about that. But yeah, so it's going to play a part in all of those things you mentioned, but it's really going to be more about the user may not even realize it's there. They go to a game, they buy an asset, they don't realize it's an NFT, they don't realize they're using blockchain technology. They just know the features of it, right? And the benefits. It's tradable. I can trade it outside of the game if I want to. They're going to know it by the benefits that we show it can be used. The social logins, being able to say, okay, I have a social wallet, or I have this token, or this badge per se in my wallet. And when I connect to a certain website, it gives me certain membership benefits. And that's where it's going to be. I think it's going to be where those of us that know the tech are going to realize it's there, but the mass majority aren't even going to realize. So it's going to play a part in everything. It's going to replace login and having just abstraction of everything, not just account abstraction, just abstraction of being able to hide all the wires, make a
Are we
user.
are we that ambitious? Are we gonna actually replace? Because I remember, not
Yeah,
to like take away the importance of your point, but I remember with NFTs being like, "Whoa, banks, watch out! We're gonna replace you," like, and stuff like that. And it's like, I don't know. Right now, I don't see
yeah,
it happening. To be honest, are we that ambitious, or do we have anything to back up this claim?
yeah, yeah. I think we have to be. I mean, we have to be that ambitious because that's the goal. And I think there was a lot of technology cycles took longer than people thought to be adopted. And I think that's where we are here. And I don't think we've even seen, and the problem is the world learned about NFTs, but they learned about it the wrong way, right? Everybody was buying digital art, profile picture, pumped up stuff. And even the NFT platforms out now that talk about NFTs or share NFT data, they rank NFTs by two things: floor price and total trading volume. And that's a speculative market, but there is going to be a day, like I said, where people are going to use NFTs and not even realize that we're not going to call it NFT. I mean, why the hell? I mean, you think about it, it's kind of an asinine term. Like, if you're in tech building it, you can call it an NFT. But if you ask any person on the street if they know what a non-fungible token is, they don't. And it shouldn't be called that. It should be called whatever it is. And so I'll give an example of an NFT I bought 3 years ago. I paid $2,000 worth of Ethereum for this NFT. There's a building. I live right outside of New Orleans. So there's a building in New Orleans where a group of entrepreneurs basically sold 504 founders tokens, launched the NFT as a founding membership token. And now that NFT gives me access to that co-working space 5 days a week. It allows me to use it for events, use it for different things. And then they sold other memberships afterwards that were less inclusive. But that's an NFT to where I don't care about floor price. I don't care about trading volume. If I was going to a traditional co-working space, I would have been paying $100 to $200 a month minimum. And instead, I was able to buy a founding membership token. I can still use that space today. And if they close tomorrow, I don't feel like I got rugged, that I've got my value out of it because of the utility. But we've got to stop calling them NFTs. I mean, that's the hype. If we want NFT adoption and we want crypto adoption, we've got to quit calling it by the technology and just showing the user the benefits and how it makes their life easier and better. And we can do that with the tech, but the tech has to be complemented by good UI. And it is very ambitious, but that's everything. Great, everything big accomplished in the world took a lot of great ambition. And if you got a lot of people here working in towards that same goal, we can make that happen. The biggest thing we have to do is make sure we focus also on interoperability, because the last thing we want to say is we're escaping these centralized walled garden systems that we want to move away from. And then we're building these walled systems again on individual blockchain networks. So that's kind of my take on it.
Fair enough. I wonder because the thing is, I often think of my think of- with thinking about my think by myself. It's like, do we want people to know? Like, because it sounds like on one hand we want people to know that they're using NFTs, and on the other we don't want them to know they're using NFTs, and because because if they know, like, they're gonna be more reluctant to use the products or whatever, and the other side is like, yeah, it's super weird, man. Like, for example, Visa. I bring this example of Visa very often because Visa is the type of technology that unless we use it or unless we need something, we don't really think about it. Visa, MasterCard. But like, we don't really think about it, right? And the way they've achieved this much relevance is through partnerships and through partnering and becoming so big with banks and international organizations, local domestic organizations internationally, let's say, that they're inevitable, right? MasterCard and Visa are these two huge giants that have paved their way through to the actual end user through partnerships. And I think that's a really good route for people to kind of take on, for projects to take on, because necessarily not I mean necessarily they're not really good UX or UI designers, let's say, because I have a MasterCard. What is it? A MasterCard. Let me check what it's called. It's called a MasterCard Airport whatever, and then the other one is called Visa Airport Companion, and they're really bad. Like, these are god awful um, user experiences. Like, the apps are just terrible, but people use it because it's like a necessary kind of thing. So I think it's pretty much overlooked sometimes when we're talking about user experience, that, like, are we necessary, or where do we fit in the human experience, just broadly speaking? How many times are we going to be interacted with by the everyday user? Cody, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've actually got a bail here in a second. I got to go over and host another space, but yeah, I kind of wanted to jump off of your question of what you were just saying and what Fio was saying just a second ago. Um, you know, blockchain isn't new. It's been around for years. It started catching a lot of mainstream adoption in with businesses back in the 90s. Um, if you're here in the US, here's a good use case for you. If you're here in the US, a lot of people don't really realize that the medical industry has been utilizing blockchain technology to store a lot of their patient data. You hear these security breaches all the time, but it's very rare that you ever hear of security breaches when it comes to the medical industry, and there's a reason why, right? Because they're leveraging blockchain technology, and so uh, many people don't know that, right? And they don't need to know that. But it's happening. Same thing with AI. AI is not really new. I've been using AI well into the early 2010s with a variety of different projects. And how we go about leveraging it. It's basically becoming mainstream right now. It's becoming a marketing uh, kind of campaign type of thing. Like Fio was talking about calling stuff non-fungible NFTs kind of thing. It's just how we brand it, how we say it. But a lot of these technologies are already being leveraged, already being used across the board, and we don't even know it. And so, I mean, if you really look at it, if you've ever done a bank wire transfer, go do some research on that, and you'll see that we've been leveraging blockchain technology since the late 60s, right? Um, so nobody really even thought of it that way. Nobody even really needed to know. But the technology has been there, and we have been using it. So great space, my friend. Happy to jump on, but I do need to bail over to my other thing. But yeah, great discussion. Definitely something that needs to be talked about here in the space for sure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I really appreciate having you here, even for 56 minutes. I mean, we didn't get you for the full hour, but it's fine. And we're almost out of time ourselves. We're going to wrap up today's talk. But it has been a really, really wonderful conversation. Thank you guys so much. UX in Web3, I mean, that's the thing that we need to be always, always um, aware of and improve on, because come on, let's be honest. If we don't have a Web 2 equivalent of use cases and a similar, at least the same level of user experience, there's not really a point of trying to convince someone to to use an inferior product, right? I mean, there really isn't. So, over to your closing statements, guys. Mux, anything you'd like to add before we wrap up today's space, sir?
Uh, so I just want to repeat that my take is that Web3 UX patterns must, I'll say must be better than in Web2. We have opportunities to do that, uh, and it's no matter is it DeFi or CeFi, we must do it. One button strategies for gaining yield. That's the way to be better for building better products, more comfortable products for users. That's my take, and you said same things, but in another way, I guess. So totally agree with you guys, and happy to hear everything you just said, and totally agree. Thanks for the today's space. Glad to be part of it.
Yes, sir. Absolutely wonderful to host you. Um, Wayne, any important thoughts you'd like to leave us with, sir?
Yeah, thanks. I think I've said a lot already, so I'll just sum it up with two things. User experience is crucial to this to technology adoption, and so I challenge everyone. Someone mentioned earlier we're talking about developers building the UI, and I think we've got to do two things. We got to simplify the user experience, and we do still need to educate too. So that was a topic that was talked about earlier on in the space, but those are two crucial things. And so my challenge to everyone is just do your part. And if you're building a product, don't just have it tested by people that already understand the technology. Send it out to the world, or bring in a test group that knows nothing about crypto and maybe even a little bit tech challenge, and see where those bottlenecks are. And I think if we keep focusing on that, we'll do that and hide the wires from the user, as I like to say. So that's all for me.
Love that. Love that phrase. Hide the wires. Love that phrase. And if you're interested in meaningful partnerships, guys, check out Feenix. Reach out to us. We've got a really, really easy integration. You can integrate the widget with just a few lines of code, and it can also be customized with your branding and logo as well. There's revenue sharing opportunities. There's also different milestones that we reached recently. One of them actually being